One of our cold callers has sold over $1.3 million worth of products for one of our clients. That's over $1 million generated for this company in just 4 short months. So in this video, I'm going to share how he did it and some tips you can use if you're also looking to hire remote cold callers. Let's dive in. Okay, let me give you some backstory. So we had actually 2 different clients come to us around the same time in the same industry. They both sell solar panels. Now, one of them, as I mentioned, have made over $1 million in ROI from one of our cold callers. While the second client, also in the solar panel industry, got $0 of goods sold from, again, one of our cold callers. So what's the difference between these 2 clients who both got a cold caller from us and are both in the same industry? Well, what people don't know is there's actually a smart way to set up your cold callers for success. And if you follow this model, you will get results. But if you just throw your cold caller in with a dialer and a generic script, you're not going to get good results. So let me break this down for you. The difference, number 1, that these clients did differently is training. The client who was successful did an entire week of training before the cold caller got going. This cold caller watched trainings, learned about their company, their competitors, the regulations in the industry. He knew everything. He also did role playing. And so when he was actually ready to start calling, he was ready and he could answer any question that someone asked him on the phone. Now, the unsuccessful client who sold $0 worth of products did no training. They basically just said, here's your list, here's your script that I just wrote on my phone a minute ago, start calling. Then in about week 3, he realized he wasn't getting results. We tried to do a couple of Zoom trainings, but it was really just too late and not thorough enough. So number 1 thing to do if you're hiring a remote cold caller or really any employee is to invest in training. Number 2 is constant communication. Whoever you hire, whether that's an employee who's working in-house or a remote cold caller or any other remote team member, you should add them to your Slack or your Teams. You should be doing daily stand-ups with them. And then, of course, you should be doing regular meetings with us or whoever you use to find this remote cold caller. So let me give you an example. The client who was successful added this guy to their Slack channel. He did the daily meetings with them. He was in constant communication. And we also frequently met with that client to adjust things as needed. Now, the unsuccessful client was never in communication with the cold caller. I don't even think he knew her name. He basically was like, get going, and he had no idea what she was doing. He was not around to answer any objections, and even we had a hard time getting a hold of him to ask him questions. So that's not good. I always say that at least the first month or until your KPIs are getting hit regularly, you should be meeting at least 10 minutes or more every single day with your remote team member, answering their questions, giving them feedback, giving them some, course correction as needed, as well as meeting with us at Cradle or again, whoever you use to hire them, so that together we're all working to make sure that this person is set up for success. So that's point number 2. Constant communication is needed, especially in the beginning. Number 3 is clear KPIs. The successful client broke down all of the numbers. He said, you have to call this many people per day. You have to get this many appointments booked. Out of those appointments, this percentage actually has to show up for the appointment, and this many need to convert to a sale. So that was so laid out and clear. It gave our cold caller a really clear goal. Again, the unsuccessful client had no KPIs. There was no volume that had to be called every single day. There's no appointments. He didn't know the ROI. It was just a total mess. And the lack of clarity creates a lot of issues. So create those clear goals. Now, if you're on a manual dialer and you have a really long script, maybe they're only going to call 100 people a day. If you're on a power dialer and you have shorter conversations, maybe they're calling 200 people a day, 250. You have to set it based on your product, your service, your industry, but the goal is that you should have clear KPIs. Now, not only does this give clear direction to whoever you're hiring, but it also makes troubleshooting really easy. For example, we had another client who was having a really hard time with the pickup rate. Our cold caller was calling, nobody was really picking up. It was really small. So I had the cold caller call me, and I noticed that when he called me, it was showing up as a spam number. And that was just like a really easy problem to fix, because of course people aren't going to pick up the number if it's showing up as spam. So you can register these numbers, you can get multiple numbers, you can do a lot of things to troubleshoot that. But the idea is, if you don't have those clear KPIs that you're tracking, you don't know how to troubleshoot. Another thing we see frequently is appointments getting set, but maybe the person doesn't actually show up. So what you can do is enable text. So that way you can do text reminders, or you can promise them a freebie when they show up for that appointment, or you can just get them really psyched up by talking about a specific result you're going to help them achieve. There's a lot of things that you can do if you know your KPIs. Now, the fourth thing that the successful client did right is that they did not quit after month 1. Because to be honest, in month 1, our cold caller set one appointment that turned into a sale that ended up getting canceled based on something else with the customer that was wrong. Nothing to do with our cold caller, but essentially it meant that in month 1, he brought in no revenue. Same thing for the unsuccessful client. The cold caller brought in no revenue that first month. So he quit, he canceled. But the successful client, even though they had gotten no revenue month 1, they kept tracking KPIs. They kept meeting regularly. They knew that that training that they had invested in would eventually pay off. And the second month, bam, he sold 12 different products for this client that equaled hundreds of thousands of dollars in commission. So just know that when you're hiring a cold caller, or again, any employee, whether that's remote or not, you're not going to get 100% KPIs day 1. In fact, I always say a 60-day or a 90-day ramp-up period is what you should expect. So when you're hiring someone, think, can I go 3 months without getting an ROI? If so, that's fabulous. That should be your thinking, because if you're just hiring a cold caller to get some quick results, you probably have some other business issues that you need to fix. So hire a cold caller and give them a 90-day ramp up period. So the fifth and final thing that this successful client did differently is that they promised a commission. Because let's face it, salespeople are salespeople everywhere, highly motivated by making some extra money through commissions. So this client promised some great commissions for a cold caller for anything that was sold. And it really motivated our cold caller to do an extra great job. So those are the 5 things that you have to do to set up your remote cold callers to be successful. Number 1, give them upfront training. Number 2, be in constant communication on a daily basis, especially in the beginning. Number 3, give them clear KPIs. Number 4, don't quit, build in that ramp up period. And number 5, offer commissions. And if you're wondering, both of our cold callers were based in Ethiopia, because everybody we hire through Cradle is based in an African country. So if you don't know, the best cold callers are coming out of Ethiopia today. We have so many people who are coming to us specifically because they want to hire cold callers in Ethiopia because they have great accents. I would say there's lots of Hollywood movies being watched, so they're super up to date on pop culture. They're young. In general, I would say they have some of the best work ethic I've ever seen. And so if you're looking for a cold caller, come to Cradle. We'll get you hooked up, and then we're going to plug you in to a model that is successful. Thanks for watching.